It's 1:30. I'd like to call the meeting of the Traffic and Transportation Commission for Monday, December 19, 2016 to order. Roll call. Let's have Commissioner Clare.
Present.
Commissioner Littlefield.
Present.
Commissioner White. Commissioner Hale.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Schuline.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner George. Here. And Commissioner Yonkel. She's not available. I'd like to have a motion concerning the minutes of the November 21st, 2016 meeting, please.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Hale. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schuline. Any discussion? Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 21st meeting from Commissioner Hale, seconded by Commissioner Schuline. Votes, please. Okay, item is approved. Reports on licensed taxi and record service will be next month. No item on the consent docket. First item is 5A, Sunny Investments LLC, to consider an application for a certificate of public convenience and necessity from Sunny Investments LLC, parent company of MedRide Inc., to operate 100 vehicles in taxi service. Anybody here to speak on this item? Sir, if I can have your name, your address, you have up to 5 minutes.
David Batson, 4225 Southwest 44th Street. We are simply asking permission to switch our medical license that we do have into a taxi cab service, and that's why we're here today.
All right, thank you very much. Staff input, please.
All right, you've got a completed application before you, and we are recommending approval of this application as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a motion concerning item 5A?
Motion approved.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Hale. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Schuline. Any discussion? All right. We have a motion to approve item 5A from Commissioner Hale, seconded by Commissioner Schuline. Can I have your votes, please? All right. Thank you, sir. Item approved. We go on now to item 5B, Jim Lemons, to consider a request to establish a no parking anytime restriction on the east side of Altadena Avenue from Northwest 38th Street to Northwest 39th Street. You have anybody here to speak on this item? Yes, sir. Sir, if I can have your name, your address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Jerome Kroll, K-R-O-L-L. I live at 2344 Northwest 38th Street, which I assume you have the agenda here. I think it's page 12. So I live on the corner of the 38th and Aldernina. That would be the southeast corner. I object to the parking sign on the east side of Aldernina on Northwest 38th Street because 2345, which is across from me, has a need of 4 parking spaces. They don't have a driveway. They have 2 cars in front of their house at all times, and their guests, which come every day, have 2 additional parking spaces. And oftentimes, I only on my small piece of property, because of the way of the angle of the curve, I only can park 1 car in front of my house. When they have extra guests, they park in front of my house, and I often ask them to park on Aldernina. So my recommendation is that you take that no parking sign and move it up to the end of 2345 property line. So you would meet, my experience, I lived 24 years in my house. My experience is that the only persons that give me trouble about parking is 2345 Northwest 38th Street and the Adams Crossing, which is 5 acres of apartment complexes, which Mr. Lemon has really the problem between Northwest 38th Street and West Lawn. So my only request to you is to move that no parking sign up to the end of the property on 2345 Northwest 38th Street, which would give these people in their extra guests, they could park there instead of in front of my house. Thank you. Any questions?
No. All right, thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
All right, can we have staff input? Oh, yes. Is there anybody else wanting to speak on this item? Okay, staff input, thanks.
All right, well, you've got our comments before you. On this particular matter, though, in the recommendations, one thing that we do note that if a no parking restriction is passed for the east side of Altadena that would run from 38th Street up to 39th Street, considering that the only opening in the security fence for the Adams Crossing apartment is generally across the street from West Lawn Place, we would probably anticipate that if there is parking that's going on the east side of Altadena Avenue, it will probably move to West Lawn Place. So if there may be an issue perceived for the one side of Altadena, but if there is, what it's going to do is it's going to severely curtail the amount of parking that's available in the area, and they will probably park in the next nearest street, which will actually basically move it from one location to another. That would be the only cautionary item that we've got, that we've expressed on this particular item. So, happy to answer any questions that you might have on it.
All right, do we have a motion concerning item 5B?
To open discussion, I move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5B from Commissioner Littlefield. Do we have a second?
I'll second for approval or for discussion.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Schuline. Okay, sir, go ahead. Rod.
I'm confused about what the applicant was explaining with regard to the particular property.
Well, the gentleman that came to speak to the commission today is not the applicant. The applicant apparently is not in the audience.
The applicant is not present. Question for staff. On-road parking on a residential street, a public street, it's not exclusive spaces in front of residential properties, correct?
That's correct.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, I was about to say, because with the matter that you've got before you from the citizen that did speak, it sounds like you're asking for a portion of, rather than all of the east side of Altadena going to no parking anytime, you're talking about not having that restriction adjacent to, it looks like 2345 Northwest 38th Street.
Come on up.
Yeah.
I just ask you to move that no parking sign on Northwest 38th Street about 150 feet north. So
Okay,
that
and you're talking about the east side of the street or the west side?
east side,
East side. Okay, that's where the parking restriction's being requested.
Yes.
Okay.
so that 2345, where that parking sign is, so their guests won't park in the only space that I have on 2344 Northwest 38th Street.
Right, and you're on the south
I'm on the southeast
corner. Okay.
So you don't want it to go all the way down to 38th Street.
Yes,
You want it to stop at the property line of 2345,
yes.
which is about 150
100 feet.
150 feet-ish.
That will allow their extra guests to park on Alderney, instead of...
But it won't be
front of my-
reserved just for them. Anybody can park.
I realize,
Okay.
but what I'm telling you, since I lived there 24 years, normally no cars from Adams Crossing, which this is all about, normally doesn't park up that far.
Down that far?
Yeah, they
Okay.
don't normally park down that far. They park on the west side of the street, but you already have three no parking signs there, and they don't obey the signs. That means you would have to have a police officer coming every single day to give them a parking ticket because they don't have enough parking. The Adams Crossing is about 5 acres of apartment complexes, and they just don't have enough parking. They don't. And so what you're doing is, just like you said, they will probably start parking along West Lawn. And what I'm trying to also to prevent, I already got a problem with 2345 Northwest 38th Street, and we certainly wouldn't want them to start moving down to my house and start parking there. I mean, all we have then done is move the cars around, because Adams Crossing is not going to build any more parking. And the only alternative they have for all their extra guests is parking on Aldernina. And they normally park between Northwest 39th Street and West Lawn. And that's where Mr. Lemon's property is. And what he's trying to do is prevent them parking on the east side of the street between Northwest 39th Street and West Lawn. And I'm on Northwest 38th Street.
Right.
You're going down further than you need to go. So
Okay.
all I'm asking is for that 100-foot adjustment.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Got it. No, thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, I understand
Uh-huh.
better as well, but this application is from 38th Street all the way to 39th Street.
Correct.
On the west side. East side, excuse me, and we have a citizen here protesting a portion of that.
The furthest portion away from the normal parking area.
Correct. And the applicant is not present to answer any questions.
Correct.
Thank you.
So is there a modification to the motion, or is the motion standing?
I move to deny.
Well, no.
Well, can we do that? Can we do, can
No,
we
we would have to-
remove that
you could-
portion? It would have to be heard as is, correct?
And now, can he remove his motion? Okay? So
I
you-
remove my motion to approve.
Okay. And the second, are you okay with the removal of the motion?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion to, we have a statement, ma'am.
I'm sorry, is the motion to deny then, or are you removing your motion completely?
I made a motion to approve. I would like to change my motion to deny.
Is he okay?
Okay. And on the second, are you okay with the motion to deny the application?
Okay, I'll second the motion to deny.
Okay. So we've changed item 5B to a motion to disapprove item 5B. And that's from Commissioner Littlefield, seconded by Commissioner Schuline. Any more talk on this item? So just to talk it out, by being disapproved, if the applicant came back with the 100 feet, 150 feet removed, then we could hear that. Okay. And that's what you would pass to the original applicant. We had a person come with that information and see how the applicant takes it. Okay. I got it. Okay. So we have a motion to disapprove item 5B from Commissioner Littlefield, seconded by Commissioner Schuline. Can I have your votes, please? Okay. Item is not approved. Or the item is approved to disapprove. The motion, thank you. Okay?
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Based on the pictures, I think the citizen that's come forward is correct. Can we get some officers out to check on the no parking violation that's going on? Thank you.
I've made a note of it. I'll get it to the appropriate.
All right, thank you. Okay, we go on now to item 5C. Emily R. Morel Chesapeake Energy Corporation to consider a request to change the speed limit on North Clawson Boulevard between Northwest 59th Street and Northwest 63rd Street from 30 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour. Ma'am, if I could have your, well, just a minute here. If I could have your name, your address, you have up to 5 minutes, and then fill one of these out when you're done, please.
Okay. Emily Merrill. My address is 1424 West Concord Lane, Edmond, Oklahoma, 73003. We would like to have the speed limit on Classen Boulevard that runs through Chesapeake Energy reduced from 30 to 25. We have around 700 pedestrians crossing that street Monday through Friday all day. And around 60 to 70 of those are children from our daycare center. And at the moment, drivers definitely don't go 30, but if we could get it reduced to 25, maybe then they would go at least 30. So it's been a huge issue on our campus. So that is what I'm requesting.
Thank you very much. Ma'am, if you could, while we're talking, if you could fill out a blue form or green. Okay. Anybody else wanted to talk on item 5C? Okay. Can we have staff input, please?
Okay, you've got our comments before you. Just a little bit of background. It was in 2015 when the commission had last considered an application filed by Chesapeake Energy, and that was to reduce the speed limit on Classen from 63rd Street over to where it curves to the south and the west over to Western Avenue. Take that from 40 miles an hour to 35 miles an hour. No, 35 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour, excuse me. At the time, they had... C.H. Guernsey and Company had contracted with KME Traffic and Transportation to conduct a speed study on that portion of Classen, and they found that the 85th percentile, at the time when it was posted 35, was actually running close to 30. So at the time the commission approved the request, and it was reduced to 30. Since receiving the request, we've conducted another follow-up speed study and found that the 85th percentile is running right around 31 miles an hour. So basically, we are getting excellent compliance based on the posted limit. What this request will do is to take it down to 25 miles an hour. Staff does not believe that posting a lower speed limit will necessarily cause drivers to drive at a slower rate. They are driving pretty much at the rate at which they are comfortable. I mean, 30 miles an hour is basically 5 miles an hour higher than the speed limit we post in residential areas. The one situation we do run into if it's posted at 25 is that on the north side of 63rd Street, Classen is posted at 40. And at that time, you'll be crossing 63rd Street, and you'll be basically doing a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit adjustment as you go across the intersection. State law requires that if you step the speed limits down, you can't go any more than an increment of like 10 miles an hour. So it's not to say that there couldn't be a 10-mile-an-hour adjustment, but it would have to occur within that section of Classen between 63rd and 59th Street. But as I noted earlier, compliance on, the 85th percentile on this particular roadway runs at just over 30 miles an hour. It's posted at 30. We've run the Bella Light credible speed limit analysis on it, which is kind of a predictive model based on human behavior to see how most people would respond to a roadway built in the configuration which Classen exists today. And that study suggests, and we've had pretty good luck with it actually, that a credible regulatory speed limit on the thing should be in the neighborhood of 30 miles an hour. So it's for those reasons that we don't have any cause to support the speed limit change. It's only because in recognition of the built environment, we don't anticipate that posting a lower limit will cause drivers to behave any differently on this particular roadway. So at this point, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have a motion concerning item 5C?
I make a motion to disapprove the application.
We have a motion to disapprove item 5C. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hale. Any discussion?
I would like to discuss. This is my problem with the Bella Light system. It takes nothing into account for pedestrians. And this, as Ms. Morel points out, there are a lot of people crossing the street with children. I think that we need to take into account the fact that oftentimes the speed study doesn't necessarily justify, just because vehicles want to drive that fast, maybe it's going to cause accidents or even a death or an injury. Just my feeling, I think that there are always exceptions. I think the Bella Light system works great if you have no other extenuating circumstances, but in this case, we do. So I do think I support Chesapeake's recommendation, and that's my 2 cents.
Sir?
Do we have any idea on the number of trips this sees daily?
Vehicle trips?
Yeah.
Yeah, hang on, we got, page 1, we've got, when it was last counted, which was in 2015, this particular section of Classen Boulevard was carrying in the neighborhood of 3,800 vehicles per day.
I don't suppose we have any idea how much of those are actually Chesapeake employees.
No idea.
I mean, just personal experience driving through this area, I don't think many people that aren't Chesapeake employees are driving the road. I could very well be wrong, but I'm just wondering if maybe it can be addressed in another way, amongst employees.
There's always that possibility. Now, the one thing that I should point out is there are actually 2 signals on this particular portion of Classen. One's a pedestrian-only crossing, and the other one is kind of a signal that regulates the intersection of it's a private street called Chesapeake Drive. So there are provisions for pedestrian crossings on it, signalized provisions for pedestrians to get across Classen.
Did we do a follow-up study on Northwest 23rd after we went from 30 miles to 25 miles an hour?
We did do a study, and that was presented in a couple of cases back. I think we've done a study on Western Avenue, and we'd also cited some information. I do have that information. If you give me a few moments, I should be able to pull it up.
Okay, yes, sir.
Appreciate my colleague. I live in this area, very close to the development in this area over the past decade, and I view this as it's a corporate campus, of course. It's not a commercial district by any means. And over the development of the buildings as they've come over the years, Chesapeake Energy really did a very fine job of incorporating a lot of crosswalks, more crosswalks and lights, I think, in that distance of space to accommodate pedestrians than we see in most any other place in the city. So from the viewpoint of a safety standard and a health standard, I believe that the speed limit, having already been reduced just a couple of years ago to a speed that people are respecting, and given the crosswalks and what we all learned about crosswalks last month, I think things are operating pretty well there. I don't think 25 miles an hour is going to make much of a difference accomplishing either health or safety. So that's why I moved the way I did.
Okay, and Commissioner Hale, to answer your question, at the October agenda, we had a request that was actually in the same vicinity where this one is, which was a request to reduce the speed limit on Grand Boulevard. At that time, we had also included a follow-up study on the action that the Commission took on 23rd Street to reduce the limit. This is from the middle paragraph on page 6 of the staff report that we prepared for item 5C on the October 17th agenda. It says, at the April 18th, 2016 meeting of the Traffic and Transportation Commission, the Commission approved item 5E, a request to lower the posted speed limit on Northwest 23rd Street from 30 miles per hour to 25 miles an hour between Classen Boulevard and North Robinson Avenue. As part of the preparation for this agenda item, staff performed follow-up speed studies on Northwest 23rd Street and found that the 85th percentile speed on Northwest 23rd Street increased from 32 miles an hour before the speed limit was lowered to 36 miles per hour following the installation of the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs, which are bearing the supplemental new plaques, which were placed at the top of the signs, to draw attention to the new lower speed limit.
Thank you. That's what I remembered had happened is that we had done that for pedestrian traffic on 23rd. And instead of getting the traffic to slow down, it has increased. And I would hate to see the same thing happening on Classen.
Yes, sir.
On page 11, there was a summary of changes. Is that part of the recommendation from this applicant to look at all those situations? Have they been looked at, or?
We've been looking at those administratively. I mean, just as recently as last week, I'd signed off on an additional service request to post more one-way signs to help prevent wrong-way driving on the portions of Glasson where they're divided. But the other items are largely maintenance or maintenance related.
So it's not like it isn't getting attention as far as the devices there, upkeep and everything.
Right, yeah, and of the items that were listed on that, there's only one item that's subject to commission hearing, and that's the speed limit change.
Thank you.
Okay, any other talk on?
Yeah, I guess
Yes,
I
sir.
would just mention that this really is almost the middle of their campus. You know, it's not, it's almost could be we could make it a private road for them almost, you know. To me, I think going to 25 is not a problem at all, except for maybe the state law on the other side. And I'm not sure what happens if you break that state law, but if we need to reduce that speed limit to 35 on the other side of 63rd, I'd be in favor of that as well. I mean, it's just 700 people a day crossing this one, you know, 2-block area, whatever it is there. That is a huge amount of people crossing. So, you know, I think 25 would be fine, and I could see it going to 20 even. I mean, that's just such a huge amount of people. I know there's lots of crosswalks, right, but, you know, there's 700 people crossing. They need a lot of crosswalks. So, anyway, I would definitely be in favor of reducing it to 25, if that's what they'd like.
Yes, sir.
If you reduce it to 25, you're going to have 42% of your traffic that's driving at or below. 42% is all that's going to be driving that. You're going to have 58% that's going to exceed that. Now, how can the enforcement enforce that kind of a speed limit? This is a minor arterial street. It's not a local collector. I mean, those conditions, you could build in something that would be a false safety factor for the pedestrian, thinking that everybody's going to drive 25 just because we changed the speed limit. That is not going to be the case. It ain't going to make any difference. They're going to be exceeding that. 25, the only places we have 25 is we got some kind of a flashing beacon associated with it, like school zones, and then heavily enforced. And it kind of knows that. Nobody wants to get caught in the school zone. But when you do something like this, what is enforcement? How do they think they're going to enforce that? They're not going to be able to. There's just no way. When you exceed the 85th percentile, you've already got 15% of the drivers that's exceeding the speed limit that's there now. So how can you put that kind of a burden on enforcement? They just can't do it. I mean, this is just realistic, good traffic engineering to understand these principles. So, I mean, you've got signals, all this other crosswalks. It goes hand in hand. The pedestrians have a responsibility, so does the driver. So I just can't see putting a 25 mile an hour on an arterial. I don't care if it's particularly a major, but even a minor arterial street. I mean, you're just not going to get the compliance.
Right.
I don't know. It seems like there's two miles between Britton Road and Northwest 63rd on Pennsylvania. That's 25 miles an hour, and it's driven real close to 25 miles an hour, I would bet. And that's 2 miles of a major, you know, not some little middle of a campus that has 700 people walking across the street every day. I mean, you move it to 25, 6 months later you take a look at it, and I bet it'll go to 26. Instead of, what is it, 31 now? It'll probably go to 26 miles an hour, which is better than 31. The first time somebody gets plowed over.
All right.
Well, does that mean it's going to get reclassified from an arterial to local? Because that wouldn't meet an arterial classification.
That stretch of the middle of that campus, to me, should be reclassified. I mean, it's almost like their personal road in there. I mean, if you drive down it, there's been millions of dollars of landscaping, and I mean, it's a gorgeous little strip of campus. And, you know, I would almost guarantee that who paid for that all that landscape was not City of Oklahoma City, it was Chesapeake, you might guess. So, and all the circle, the lighting, the traffic, everything that's been put in there has probably been paid by Chesapeake. So,
All right, any other discussion on item 5C? Okay, we have a motion to disapprove item 5C from Commissioner Littlefield, seconded by Commissioner Hale. Votes, please. Oh, I say here. Okay, so it's 4-4, which means, Counselor? There's nothing. Okay? Can I ask for another motion, or do we have to move on? I can ask, okay. Do we have a motion, have another motion concerning item 5C?
I move we approve the application 25 miles an hour.
All right.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5C from Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Schuline. Any talk?
Now, what I think, so.
Okay, so with no more talk, we do have a motion to approve item 5C.
I'd like
sorry?
to make a comment. Just
Go ahead.
as Stuart mentioned earlier, we went back and looked at, in October, a similar request. And that was in an area where there were no pedestrians. And I believe we approved that, correct?
You're talking about it on Grand Boulevard?
Yes, we approved that. So I don't think this is too dissimilar. And I certainly agree that it's an environmental thing, and changing the signs from 30 to 25 is not changing the environment. There's many environmental changes that could be made to get people to drive slower, but again, these are the tools that we have right now. So, and pedestrian safety, I think is important. So.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Schuline, to approve item 5C. Can I have your votes, please? All right, just want to make sure. All right, so the item is pushed. Okay, item's pushed. There's no, that's called no action, or is that, there's no action. Okay, we go on now to item 5D. Stephen R. Cooksey, P.E.C.H. Guernsey and Company, to establish 60-degree angle parking within a proposed on-street parking area on the north side of Southwest 27th Street from approximately 40 feet east to approximately 160 feet east of the east curb line of South Hudson Avenue, and 2, establish 1 reserved parking space for the physically disabled on the north side of Southwest 27th Street from approximately 40 feet to approximately 70 feet east of the east curb line of South Hudson Avenue. We have, hi sir. If I could have your name, your address, you have up to 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you. My name is Stephen Cooksey with Guernsey. My address is 5555 North Grand Boulevard. And as was stated, what we're proposing is a total of 9 parking spaces on the north side of Southwest 27th Street, one of those being ADA accessible space. Give you a little background on the overall project here. This is a renovation and addition to the Capitol Hill Library that we were to design a record for. The existing site shares a parking lot with Bank of America. What the project was, like I said, renovate and expand. So when we did that, in order to meet the parking requirements for that additional square footage and bring it up to current code, we basically maxed out the site for the amount of parking. We've dedicated some parking to Bank of America. So earlier it was a shared lot. Now they've got dedicated parking. And so basically to provide to meet city code for the new library, but also provide maximum amount of parking. That's why we're proposing the additional on-street parking. As stated in the report, 27th Street's 26-foot street curb to curb, and which the report states is wide enough for that 60-degree parking, vehicles to maneuver in and out. So that's the request. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Can we have staff? Is there anybody else wanting to speak on item 5D? All right, staff input.
Okay, action on this particular item will be at the discretion of the commission. As Mr. Cooksey noted, that they have submitted a request which is in conformance with the city's off-street angle parking standards in this particular portion of the city, and based on the location where it is, just sitting south of the Capitol Hill Library, which is being renovated, this would probably be an appropriate location for the use of something like this. I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Do we have a motion concerning 5C?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Clare. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Littlefield. Any discussion? Okay. We have a motion to approve item 5D from Commissioner Clare, seconded by Commissioner Littlefield. Votes, please. The item is approved. Thanks, sir. 5E, traffic management. To consider request to remove the no parking on the south side of Linwood Boulevard from North Indiana Avenue to Northwestern. Remove no parking on the north side of Linwood Boulevard from North Indiana Avenue to North McKinley Avenue. Remove the 2-hour time-limited parking on the north side of Linwood Boulevard from North McKinley Avenue to North Bauer Avenue, and to remove the no parking on the north side of Linwood Boulevard from North Bauer Avenue to Northwestern Avenue. Anybody here to talk on item 5E? Staff input?
All right. Well, staff is actually the author on this particular case. In the fall of 2015, the city micro-resurfaced Linwood Boulevard from Virginia Avenue to Western Avenue. Following its resurfacing, there was some interest to stripe like dedicated bicycle lanes on this particular roadway. So we were directed to look at preparing striping plans to do something along that line. Because the lanes on Linwood Boulevard are only 31 feet in each of the two directions of travel, and we tried to maintain at least two travel lanes plus a bicycle facility and a parking lane, we found out there simply wasn't enough room to do something like that. Since this is a signed bicycle route in which cyclists may use a full lane at their option, the best solution that could be fit for the roadway that was as it was built was to maintain 2 lanes in each direction of travel, and then what we did was we set aside basically the far north and south lanes of this roadway exclusively for parking purposes. So in the fall of 2016, when the roadway was restriped, that's how it was done. It was done with 2 lanes in each direction, with exclusive parking lane as well. And one of the reasons for doing that is because the traffic volume on Linwood Boulevard runs just under 4,000 vehicles per day, and on a 4-lane section, there's more than ample capacity available for that. The parking restrictions that we're asking you to look at today and basically purge were put in place back in the 60s and 70s when Linwood Boulevard probably provided more ingress-egress for downtown commuters. And so the restrictions on the eastbound lanes were to keep people from parking during the morning commute times, and then in the westbound lanes, the restriction was to prevent people from parking during the afternoon commute times. Since the road's been restriped and these are now strictly for parking, there's really no reason to preserve these particular parking restrictions, which is why we've presented this item. And it'll be one that we have to take on to City Council ultimately, because there was an ordinance passed about 1990, I believe, that created some of these restrictions, and so we'll be taking it back to City Council to have an ordinance to basically nullify what they'd done in the past. Happy to answer any questions you might have on this.
Thank you. Do we have a motion concerning item 5E?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the request to include all 4 items as listed in the agenda.
Okay. Do we have a second for item 5E?
Second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Clare. All right, any discussion on item 5E?
I have a question for staff, I guess. So removing the no parking, is that going to affect the bicycle lane, though?
No, there is no bicycle lane on this
that's not
particular
a lane.
roadway. It's a bike route, so it's a share the road type facility. Okay. And the Public Works will be going back and replacing share the road or share road type symbols in both directions on Linwood.
Okay, any other talk on item 5E? Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5E from Commissioner Schuline, seconded by Commissioner Clare. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. Okay, 5F, staff, you want to?
Okay, after the agenda was published last week, the applicant for 5F indicated that she would not be able to be present at this meeting to represent her item, so she has asked for it to be continued to the January meeting for consideration.
Is there anybody here to speak on item 5F? Okay, very good. Can I have a motion concerning item 5F?
Motion to continue.
We have a motion from Commissioner Clare to continue item 5F to the next meeting. You have a second? Second by Commissioner George. Any discussion? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Clare, seconded by Commissioner George, to move item 5F to next meeting. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. All right, comments from citizens? Anybody want to speak? Yes, ma'am. If I could have your name, your address, you have up to 5 minutes, and please fill out one of the forms when you're done, please.
My name's Deanna Christian, and I own Anathello Day Spa at 7936 North May Avenue. We are on the east side of the street. Almost directly across from us is Meg Guest Bridal at 7941. On December 8th, there was a fatal crash right in front of our store. In February of this year, there was a car that crashed into our building going northbound, and I believe it was in March, there was a car that crashed into Meg Guest Bridal as well. There are a lot of cars that just go across the double yellow line straight into 7-Eleven and across our parking lot. It's very dangerous. We're concerned about the safety of our clients. We're concerned about the safety of our employees, along with the other people who travel on the street daily.
Okay. So, ma'am, if I could have your name and your address, and you have up to 5 minutes, that's okay.
My apologies.
No, just
I'm L.A.
move up to the
Gillette.
mic a bit, please. All right, thank you.
You want my home address or the work address?
Doesn't matter, address.
My work address is
7936 North May.
North May Avenue. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm
what's your
manager
name
of
again?
L.A. Gillette.
Okay, thank you.
It is a very strong safety hazard. That curve right there coming across Wilshire, or even going towards Wilshire, coming around that bend. Traffic comes from, if they're going south on May Avenue, they'll cut across the north lane traffic and come whizzing down across. We've had people barely missing, pulling out, people almost hitting them.
Could you look on MapQuest?
So we just like to have that to be studied and try to see if we can have some kind of resolution come up. Speed bumps, speed being reduced, something.
Maybe extending the median.
Extending the median, a curb right there, anything.
Right.
We
So
have
what
parking
we're going to
for
do is
parking
we're
spots.
going to look it up here to see where it's at. Do we know which ward that's in? Where is it? Where she's?
Right on
I'm
the-
familiar with the intersection, very familiar. I'm not sure what ward. I think 2.
It's if you're going south on May Avenue, there's a 7-Eleven that's on that kind of that peninsula, and there is a median there, but people do cross early, cross the double yellow line to get into the 7-Eleven.
I believe there's even a space in that island where traffic can,
That you can make a left, you can go south out of the 7-Eleven,
Right.
but you can't turn into it.
Okay.
Would you leave your contact information with the staff at the front, and we will get back with you and visit with you on your concerns for the area?
Thank you for
Okay.
your time.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, she filled out the form. Yeah, both of you need to fill out a form, if I could. Okay, any other comments from citizens? Okay, we go down to reports and items from the traffic commissioners. Going over to Commissioner Clare
Nothing to report.
and to Commissioner Littlefield.
I've had a couple of citizens contact me in Ward 2 about North Francis Avenue. It's a little stretch of road on the east side of McGinnis High School. Francis to, like I-44 might be the point. There's a new structure there on campus, and there's a parking lot that services to the south of it that is on the east side of Francis. And there's chalked out like handicap parking spaces on the street in front of the structure on Francis. And these folks have said it appears awkward because of the way, I think it's Chartel that marries into that part of Francis. It just seems like an odd place for any kind of on-street parking, let alone handicapped. And the citizens, I think, question is this something that has gone through the commission? Are these spaces, have they been researched? Do they need an approval, et cetera?
If you've got I'll have my staff go out there and take a look at, the location doesn't seem familiar to me as far as something being marked on the street on Francis itself. So we'll have to research our records, and we'll investigate and find out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. And we go on to Commissioner White.
Nothing to report.
Over to Commissioner Hale.
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Schuline.
Nothing, sir. Thank you.
To Commissioner Miller.
Just like to make comment to staff that the yield signs that were put at 121st and Harvey and the old barricades, that staff did a real good job fixing that up.
Okay, and over to Commissioner George. All right, do we have anything from law enforcement? Nothing. Counselor?
I actually am going to be reporting that you will have a new attorney next year. Starting in January, Rita Douglas Talley will be taking my spot, and you will be getting one of the best. She's been around with the city, at least, for quite a number of years, and very, very talented attorney. So Merry Christmas and best wishes for the new year.
All right. Thanks for all the hard work that you've done for us over the years. Staff?
You've got our standard monthly report on the installation of yield signs at the tail end of your agenda, and I'll just echo what Haley had wished you. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Look forward to another one with you.
We do need to remind everybody of the January meeting is on a Friday.
It's on a Friday. It falls the same week as I think it'll be on January the 20th, which will be the Friday that follows the Martin Luther King Day national holiday.
Yeah, that's the only time that we meet other than a Monday is
correct.
January. So just to remind everybody of that. All right, any other business for the commission? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Do we have a second? Somebody?
Second.
Second, let's have a vote. And we're out of here.